we're ready.
Excellent. Thank you, and welcome everyone to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Planning Commission Planning Committee meeting of April 19th, 2022. And thank you all for joining us. Just a few Zoom call tips to get started. Please mute your audio when you're not speaking. Use only one source of audio, computer or phone. Do not put your phone on hold. Submit questions in the chat box when possible. To request the floor, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom call and wait to be acknowledged before proceeding. That's under reactions, everyone. To make a motion, please state your name before making a first or second motion, just so we can keep it all straight and keep your points clear and concise. And let's jump in, I guess. I'll call this meeting to order. I am going to first go with our introductions, and let's run through Ms. Vice Chair.
Good evening, everyone. Erin Barbie, Planning Commission, and my dogs.
Commissioner Kelly.
Pete Kelly, Planning Commission.
Commissioner Harvey.
RJ Harvey, Planning Commission.
Commissioner Gaston.
Melissa Gaston, Planning Commission.
Excellent. And I still don't see Russell. If anyone happens to see him join, please notify everyone. We do have a quorum, and so that meets that requirement at least. Let's jump in and introduce staff. Let's where's my list? Let's start. Xenia, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Xenia Duhaney, planning staff.
Excellent. Alicia.
Alicia Osborne, planning staff.
Mariah.
Hi, Mariah Wozniak, planning staff.
Trying to do this in some order. Is that the last of my planning staff that's on?
Yolanda Jones, planning staff.
Thank you. And then let's go with some of our other city partners. Oh, Kathy, are you there?
Yeah, Kathy Cornett, planning staff.
And then
And Erin Henson, planning staff.
Kevin
Gretchen
May, planning
Flores,
staff.
planning staff.
Gretchen and then Kevin May, planning staff.
Perfect.
I'm Jason Hunt. I'm water quality planner with Stormwater Services, City of Charlotte.
Thank you. Do we have any other partner organizations? Let's see. Anyone else at this point? I think that's got our introductions done. It's excellent.
Actually, we see Will Russell just joining.
Oh, excellent. Fantastic. Will, we're just finishing introductions. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I would. Will Russell, Planning Commission.
Excellent. Thanks for making it in under the wire. Excellent. All right, let's jump into the fun part. We have two mandatory referrals ahead of us this evening. We have mandatory referral number 22-10 and mandatory referral number 22-11. Does anybody have any questions or comment that they would like to separate either of these or ask any questions?
Chair, this is Commissioner Kelly. Did you want to approve the minutes?
Thank you. That's a good point. We definitely need to approve minutes, don't we? Is there?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shaking her head.
Can I get a motion, please?
Commissioner Kelly, motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
From the March
Commissioner
5th.
Russell.
Properly moved by Kelly and seconded by Russell. I'll run the roll call. Commissioner Barbie.
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey.
Yes.
Commissioner Gaston.
Yes.
And Commissioner Russell.
Yes.
Excellent. Properly moved and with and 6-0 passes. Minutes are approved. All right, back into the mandatory referrals. Now, does anyone have anything on the mandatory referrals that they would like to pull out and take a closer look at? Seeing no hands or hearing any comments. Is anyone interested in making a motion regarding these two mandatory referrals?
Hi, Mr. Chair. I'll be happy to make a motion. This is Commissioner Barbie. The Planning Committee reviewed mandatory referral reports 22-10 and 22-11 on April 19th, 2022, and we have no additional comments for the submitting agencies.
And a second.
Kelly, second.
Properly moved by Barbie, seconded by Kelly. I'll run through the roll call. Commissioner Barbie,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey,
Yes.
Commissioner Gaston,
Yes.
and Commissioner Russell.
Yes.
Excellent. Mandatory referrals are approved. We're just flying tonight. We can let Carolyn Sawyer know that her presence will not be required this evening. And then let's jump in. Who do we have on the UDO? I see a couple of smiling faces.
I'm
Thank
here and Kevin May is joining me.
Excellent.
Okay. Just get my screen up.
Certainly.
Can everyone see that okay?
Looks good here.
Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Mariah Wozniak, and I am joined by my colleague, Kevin May. I'm a planner on the UDO team. It's nice to be here with you all this afternoon. I'm happy to see many of you again and provide a UDO update. So for this afternoon's presentation, we will review the UDO project schedule, provide a quick recap of our past engagement around the first draft UDO, update you all on the public comment responses, kind of where we're at with that, outline some of our available UDO related resources, and then look ahead to our planned public engagement for the forthcoming second UDO draft. So as a quick recap, I'd just like to review a current UDO schedule. I know this information is familiar, but I do think it's helpful to kind of see it all side by side. As you know, City Council adopted the policy map on March 28th, and then the strategic mobility plan is below that. And then we are at the bottom. I'm realizing the text may be hard to see, but we are currently in the process of finalizing our public comment review and getting our responses posted on our website, and then working on the second draft UDO. So as currently planned, we anticipate the second draft UDO to be released in May, followed by a public hearing in June, and then hopeful City Council adoption in July. So in order to tee up where we're headed, it's helpful to understand where we have been. As you know, the first draft was released in October, and leading up to that and immediately following the first draft release, we had several pop-up events across Charlotte. These were made possible by partnering with CATS, the YMCA, and other local organizations. Lost my screen there, I think. Sorry about that. And our goal with these pop-up events was really to increase awareness and visibility around the UDO within the community. And as part of that, we popped up at several YMCA locations where we had subsequent open house events later on in the fall. So our in-person open house meetings that are listed there at the bottom were hosted at various recreation centers and YMCAs across Charlotte. It was really awesome to partner with Park and Rec and the YMCA to offer a variety of dates, times, and locations for folks to stop in and speak with staff about various aspects of the UDO. And you can see in here, some of the photos are just people interacting with our boards that we had or asking questions of staff. And although the turnout at these events was maybe not exactly what we hoped that it would be, we did have some meaningful conversations that have kind of helped inform where we headed with drafts, and also informed how we chose to engage going forward with the first draft and now into the second, planning for the second draft release. Following the conclusion of our open house meetings, we kicked off our virtual conversation series, which ran from December 21 until the end of January 22. And this included staff presentations on 10 different UDO related topics that you can see here. And participants had the opportunity to ask questions, interact with staff using Zoom's chat feature. We had our consultants on board to kind of dig into the detailed questions in real time. And then recordings of each of those conversations, as well as the chat transcripts, are available for public consumption on the UDO website, charlotteudo.org. Each conversation was 1 hour in length and was offered twice on its scheduled day, so 12 to 1 and then 6 to 7. And the goal there was to ensure that interested community members could attend a meeting that best fit their schedule. And this is something that we will continue to do into future engagement as well. So we had over 300 total participants across these sessions, and we found that attendance increased from our previously held open house events. Next up, we hosted listening sessions that were focused on 4 UDO topics that garnered significant interest across our comment portal and from other various kind of informal channels of feedback. So these topics were heritage trees, short-term rentals, neighborhood 1 zoning districts, and parking. And I know that some of you were able to join us on those, so we appreciate that. And these sessions began with a short staff presentation, but the emphasis was really on the open forum where participants could request time to speak about the topic at hand. And staff really focused on listening versus responding during these sessions. And then I guess beyond that, the comments or questions that were posed during these sessions were transcribed and entered into our comment portal for staff review and consideration, along with other comments that we received through the portal. We did hear valuable information in each session, but you can see on this slide that short-term rentals and heritage trees were definitely among our most popular. And again, these were held from 12 to 1 and 6 to 7 on each scheduled day. And we have found this dual session approach to be helpful for community members. And we plan to continue that for future engagement around the next draft release. During the public comment period for the first draft UDO, which ended March 18th, staff collected public comments on the first UDO draft through our comment portal housed at charlotteudo.org, as well as through comment cards at our open houses, and that were also made available to library branches and YMCA branches. We did emphasize, though, that the online portal was the most convenient avenue for community members to post their comments and feedback on the draft, but we did offer those other avenues as well. And we received over 1,250 comments submitted on the first draft, and this does not include comments received from within the city or county organization. At this point, staff has reviewed and considered each comment. Many comments require additional review or study, but we are nearly complete with kind of our responses to each comment. And our intention is to be thorough and thoughtful in those responses, which does take time and obviously staff resources, but we are in the final stages of finalizing those comment responses and plan to have them up on the website just as soon as possible. So we have been posting responses on a rolling basis on the website, and a large portion of comment responses did go live over the weekend, actually. And like I said, we anticipate getting the remainder up just as soon as we can. Public comments and responses are viewable by topic on our website, and we would love for you all to take a look at them, kind of get an idea of how we are addressing the comments, ideas, and feedback, and you might find this information valuable as you engage in future conversations about the UDO. At this point, before we transition into planned engagement around the second draft UDO, I just want to highlight some resources available that we would love your help spreading the word about. So with the help of a consultant, there are 4 choose your interest educational videos available on our website. And these have also aired on the government channel in an effort to increase awareness and share information about the UDO. These videos help explain what the UDO means for existing neighborhoods, existing businesses, and new development. They really offer a high-level explanation of the UDO and are great for folks who are looking to get acquainted prior to the second draft release. So we would love, again, your help sharing these in your network. In addition to the Choose Your Interest videos, staff has worked closely with corporate communications and marketing to create a new show on the government channel called Charlotte's UDO and You. The show is hosted by Interim Planning Director Allison Craig, and not only does she share general information about the UDO and how it affects the community, but she also digs into specific topics of interest in the ordinance. So in the most recent episode, Allison was joined by Chief Urban Forester Tim Porter to discuss tree standards. And you can see in some of these photos, sorry, I'm looking over at them right now in the studio, and then them in the field amongst the trees. So that is exciting. And new episodes air on or around the last Thursday of each month at 7 p.m. And I believe the next topic for the show will be Neighborhood 1 zoning districts and the associated standards in the UDO. So look forward to that. And now that we have recapped our engagement on the first draft UDO and have talked a little bit about what we're doing at the present moment, I'd like to look forward to some planned engagement efforts on the second draft UDO, which is set to be released next month. So soon after the second draft release, we will begin engagement with virtual sessions. These will take place in late May and early June and will be more educational in nature, with the focus on highlighting the key changes between the first and second UDO drafts. So kind of really bringing up people to speed and highlighting where sort of those major changes kind of shifted from the first to the second draft. And we will again be following our approach from previous engagement, offering each session twice, 12 to 1 and 6 to 7 on their scheduled day. And then the recordings will also be made available on the website as well. In addition to our virtual sessions, we will also host an in-person open house at the Government Center. This event right now is planned to take place in the lobby on Wednesday, June 8th from 2:30 until 6:30 p.m. And this will run similarly to our open houses from back in the fall, where we had stations located kind of around the space with different content areas of the UDO, staffed by subject matter experts from various city departments that will be on site to answer questions and engage with community members. It is our hope that an open house event will allow for one-on-one conversations and provide an in-person element of engagement that we know some community members prefer. We have been intentional in our planning that some folks are really ready to resume in-person events while others continue to opt for virtual platforms. So with that being said, staff will also host online virtual office hours where community members can sign up to discuss the second draft UDO with subject matter experts across city departments. So in that way, these virtual office hours are sort of a supplement or alternative for the open house at the Government Center. Interested community members will be able to sign up for a specific time slot to meet with staff, and we will plan that schedule so that different topics and experts are available at a variety of times. So if natural resources offered in the morning on Monday, then maybe it'll be in the afternoon on Wednesday. So just trying to make sure that community members can sign up for a time slot that both fits their schedule and also their UDO interest. And as we get closer to the draft release, the sign up will be made available on our website. Finally, we will be accepting public comments on the second draft UDO. Similar to the first draft, we will reopen our online portal alongside the draft release. It should be noted that based on some community feedback on the portal itself, the platform will likely look a little different. We are just looking to make some improvements and kind of streamline the interface with the next draft. And then in addition to the online portal, hard copies again and comment cards will be made available at library branches across Charlotte. The library has been a wonderful partner, and our hope is that continuing to offer the physical copies will be helpful to those who prefer that method. And I guess lastly, we are still finalizing exact dates for the comment period, but staff will review and consider the public comments that we receive. And as we begin to understand kind of the breadth and volume of comments on the second draft, we can at that point sort of determine the exact method for packaging and sharing comment responses or comment themes. So that's kind of still under consideration, but we will be collecting comments and reviewing and considering them. And then to kind of bring us home, I know this slide has been shared a number of times, but we are currently in the process again of finalizing public comment responses and preparing the second draft UDO, which we are excited to release in late May. And then the public hearing will take place in June and hopeful city council adoption in July. On behalf of the UDO team, I just want to say thank you for having us this evening, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mariah. And I'm sure everyone else who's helped. Any comments or questions, commissioners?
Commissioner Gusman, Commissioner Barbie with a question, sorry.
Go right ahead.
I am not Commissioner Gusman, am I? Thank you so much for this presentation. It's great to continue to see the engagement level for the UDO. I have a question around opening up the period again for comment. Should there be any opposition or concerns about specific parts of the UDO that really start to raise eyebrows? What is the intent on how you would communicate any specific changes or give the opportunity for more small group in-person conversations? Or is it like it's open and closed at this point in time? Those are the questions that have come to me. You know, people still want to offer comment. So could you speak to that a little bit more deeply?
Sure. So I think I spoke to it a little bit, just we aren't sure the exact dates of the period right now. And part of that is to allow for some flexibility if we do need to kind of plan some additional engagement at the end based on the feedback we receive. So we're kind of planning for an avenue there that there will be, additional opportunities if necessary.
And if specific groups that you've met with before have an interest in another small group conversation, developers, realtors, whatever it may be, would we as advocates guide them to you all to say, hey, that's something you can request, or will you all make that decision?
So I think one thing we've talked about are those office hours being available to both individuals and groups. And if there's, a larger group that would need or desire a larger conversation or a longer conversation, that's something we could kind of handle on a case-by-case basis for sure.
Okay, thank you. I'll relay that.
I'm sorry, this is Kevin. May I say a few words?
Right ahead.
And I just want to also kind of piggyback on what Mariah is saying in answer to your question, Commissioner Barbie and Vice Chair Barbie, is even now we are currently still meeting with some of those groups that you're referencing, like with the development community and real estate industry as well. So even as we're going through this ramp up period to the second draft coming up next month, we're continuing to have those meetings. In fact, we have some this week. But those are kind of really with our kind of, for lack of a better word, continuing partners in that conversation. But if there are ones that we had spoke with before that maybe we need to circle back to, we'd love to have the opportunity for you to direct them to us to have that opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you for that clarification.
Excellent questions, Commissioner Barbie. And everyone take note that this is, while some of this is happening in the future yet, and we might not have specific dates, we can start and continue to have the discussion now. We don't have to necessarily wait for the next draft. The window isn't closed yet, if I'm reading this right. Commissioner Russell, did you have something or?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I heard Kevin May mention that there were specific meetings for development groups and industry groups for them to get their comments into the UDO. But I want to know what is being done to balance those voices out with actual community members, people who live in these neighborhoods that would be affected and work in these businesses. Is there an attempt to have a group of citizens in a room and talk through this and get their voices? Because sometimes I feel like in this process they've been missed.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for that question, Commissioner Russell. And let me say I'm I'm here a bit kind of in a backup role for Mariah, so I'm not quite as privy to a lot of the conversations on the engagement side as she is versed in. But I will say, I think she hinted at the engagement efforts that we're looking at going forward that are hoping to be more citizen oriented than maybe that has been picked up so far. Especially now that we're going to be expanding out into more in-person opportunities. And citizens now and continuing forward always have the opportunity to get involved, reach out to us. And again, I'd ask you as the commissioners to help us engage those citizens, because if there's somebody out there that we're missing, because we're not perfect. We realize we're not going to hit everybody, please. I'd ask you to avail your efforts to help us make that connection so that we can engage those folks. We've got everything that Mariah spoke on with regard to resources available on the internet and understanding that the internet's not for everybody. But it is a big tool in our toolbox to try to engage those citizens. But, I say to you the same as I say to Commissioner Barbie, if there are people that we need to be connected with, we'd love for you to be able to help us connect with those so we can have those engagement opportunities.
Fair call. Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. I guess my question is along these lines for Mariah. One of the things that I think we all agree that the real estate industry and development industry have more knowledge and awareness and understanding of the subtleties of the UDO. And that one of our collective concerns is that the general population of Charlotte is not as familiar or literate in the subject. And I appreciate, and I have not yet had a chance to review your videos that you just mentioned, but I will. But along those lines, have we developed a list of these are the things that seem to have the most questions by the experts, and making that list pretty visible? Because I think part of the problem is people don't know what to worry about. And so while there's a lot of visibility for the size of a tree that can be cut down or how close in proximity I can have an Airbnb, those two subjects seem to be visible. But beyond that, there isn't really a lot of community understanding of the implications. And so I would still suggest that if to improve communication, overtly saying these are the issues that we've gotten feedback from industry and real estate, these are the issues that you might want to pay attention to, and we would appreciate people giving feedback on those subjects. Being proactive, to Will's point, how do we make sure that we're proactively telling people these are the things that you might not yet understand, but you probably should? And I still think that that's a key part of the communication strategy that we could perhaps do a little more of.
Great point, Peter. And I believe, didn't we do that for the comp plan at your suggestion as well?
We did the suggestion.
True. If we could look at producing something along those lines that would be easily shared, it might help us shortcut these conversations as well as advance the conversation to a point of understanding, or if they have a real comment. Thoughts?
Mariah, can I assist
for
if you don't
sure.
mind? So hello, I'm Yolanda Jones with the UDO team and planning staff. And thank you, Mr. Kelly, for your comment. So our thought process around all of these things that we've done honestly has been deliberate. I don't want that to kind of just go to the wayside. So as we have been doing our virtual conversations, we have been deliberate in looking at what have been the hot button topics. What are people consistently commenting on? What are they asking us about? What are maybe you guys telling us you're hearing a lot about? That is how we tailor these things, specifically the UDO show. I just want to shout that out. If you haven't seen it, please watch it, share it. One of the sort of ideas that we got from council was that we weren't using the Gov channel in the best way that we could. Maybe to Commissioner Russell's point, some people in the community, how are they getting their information? Like, how are we able to share this information with those folks who aren't watching us on YouTube all of the time or on Facebook or however else they're streaming? So the Gov channel was one of those ways. And so basically what we did was we looked at the hot button topics. What do we need to dive deeper into? What do we need to share with people? What do they need to hear? What are they asking us and commenting on? And those were what bubbled up to the top. Additionally, we are working with corporate communications on coming up with basically like a themed list, basically what you're asking for, Commissioner Kelly, a themed list of all the things that are coming in that are really like everybody wants to know, or everybody's saying this seems like something that's going to affect me personally. This is how it affects me, and not necessarily the developers that, you know, I don't know all the nuances. I'm a comms person. I'm not a planner, so I don't know all of the technical stuff. But we tried to do that by looking at what we were getting. And that's how we tailored these conversations around the virtual listening sessions, around the community conversations, around the show. When we even did our in-person open houses, you literally could walk up to a table and talk to an expert. You could stand there and speak to someone. I've watched people sit down with the common person, Mr. Commissioner Russell, that had no idea what is the UDO. It doesn't make any sense to me. Just sitting at a table talking to someone one-on-one just to try to explain it better. Additionally, we did try to do the videos. We have done the videos that Mariah spoke about earlier. If you watch those, maybe those will help how you share it. What I'll appeal, and I'm going to tag on to what Kevin said, we need your help. Like, we truly need your help. One of the things I consistently say is, how do we get the information to these folks? How are they reaching out to you? Whatever you have to help us, please give it to us. We will use whatever channel, whatever avenue that you have to reach to your constituents, especially those who aren't consistently online or in these other places. If you just give us some additional help or some direction, we will use it. We are at your mercy. We need it. We want people to understand. We want people to get it. We know that this is important. It really, really is. So if you have something, Commissioner Kelly, you could shoot over and you thought with that themed list, we will definitely work on it. And also, Commissioner Russell, I would love if you have any other avenues to help us get, again, to those common folks that you might think aren't really getting the message or understand.
And Yolanda, I appreciate your comments, and I wasn't, there's been a lot of effort done to communicate, so I'm not questioning the efforts. But if you go back to Will's original question, the perception that's going to be created by ongoing dialogue with industry reps, developers and realtors, that suggests to the general public and undermines trust in the process. And so all I'm suggesting is trying to overtly take steps that mitigate that undermining trust by talking about these are the subjects we're still having ongoing dialogue on. Here's how you can learn more about those subjects using your tools, but overtly putting out there what are the things that you are discussing with real estate and development professionals, because that's where the underlying trust will come out in the public forums. And so I'm just suggesting proactively mitigating that. Thank you for all the efforts, though. All of you are trying very hard. It's not a question of desire or effort. It's just trying to help with effectiveness.
This is Kevin again. Thank you for those comments, Commissioner Kelly. And I'll say, I think we all recognized it. We are being very deliberate with our efforts and certainly are trying as hard and the best that we can, recognizing also that we have some gaps. And I think your feedback is just trying to help us close what some of those gaps may be, especially on the public perception side. And two important things that the last comments I'll make really is kind of piggybacking off of what you just said and what Commissioner Russell said earlier is some of that citizen involvement is just starting to come off of the ground with the Community Benefits Coalition, and that will continue on going forward as well. And and I think we also all recognize as a group, all of us on this meeting, is that the UDO isn't going to be a stagnant document, right? Once adoption starts, once there's hoped for adoption and approval, engagement doesn't stop there. It's going to be a continuing process, because the thing is that the document's going to have to go through changes as it goes through growing pains and what we learn about what works and what doesn't. And so really, when we speak of engagement, and we're talking about like the first and the second phases, we're really talking about the first and second phases of what's going to be a continuing engagement process as we continually refine the UDO going forward.
Yep, and I'd be happy to reach out to some groups that may have some interest in hearing more about the UDO and how that would affect their neighborhoods. So I don't have a problem with that. The other thing I would also ask is, like, is there a way to get you as staff some additional feedback on the UDO? Because I know I have a ton of questions and a bunch of suggestions that we need to talk through.
Let me jump in there for that. One of the things we're working on, I alluded to it earlier, is so what we've done in the past, especially for some of the newer members, we have, for example, when we did the comp plan, we put together a list as the commission of recommendations and questions, well, not questions, pardon me, recommendations that we wanted to see before the second draft is going to be coming out. We're going to be doing that as a body on May 2nd. This week, we should be getting, Candace assures me, a survey that will allow each of us to put in whatever those comments are. Will, I know that we have a separate dialogue going as well, and we'll continue that moving forward also. But all of the Planning Commission will have the opportunity to potentially add things to this. Now, this will be voted on as our entire group. And now, while all of us can continue to make suggestions and recommendations to using the online portal as private citizens and all that other stuff, we're going to try and put together a list that kind of gets the full blessing of the entire commission, that we can point to as, hey, these are things that a body of 18, the bunch of us, 14 of us that are at least well-informed, think that we need to continue to work on. And so everyone be ready to have those thoughts collected this week and debated on May 2nd, our next full commission meeting. I'm not even sure how much of the UDO team knows that we're planning on doing that. But we were told that if we got it in before the deadline, that they're potentially going to be able to be included or considered for the second draft. So we have another great opportunity as commissioners, as well as if you're continuing to pursue any discussions with comments or about comments with staff, we need to continue those. And to the previous point, if there are neighborhood associations that, we all know, can name at least one community group out there that last time you talked to anyone from it, they didn't feel comfortable about the UDO. Let's see if we can't get those groups connected. And what I'd ask from staff after this meeting, if we could get, maybe it's a single email address, or maybe it's a phone number, or a couple of different ways to gain access that we can share directly. And it doesn't have to be a special number or special person or anything, but just maybe somebody that we can point people directly to. Because sometimes when we say, hey, just go put your recommendation up on the website, I know that has been a barrier to some of these groups. Now, I'm not asking for special favors, just I know that if you dig deep, we can find a phone number that we can call and make a comment about the UDO. If that's what you want us to use, we can use that. But it would be nice for us to be able to have that extra clear information for the commissioners to be able to say, hey, while we're hopefully wrapping up this process and getting to the second draft, that we'll be able to collect your community's experience and information as well, or comments as well. Any reason why we wouldn't be able to do that, Kevin or Mariah? Or
No,
does-
I appreciate that comment. Let's we'll take that back and explore how we can get that achieved.
Excellent. Commissioners, anything else? I think this is excellent conversation that we're having on how we, I guess some of my comments, I'm happy to see that we've got a couple of in-person events coming. And I like the idea of the potential of coordinating the office hours with the virtual conversation. If I read that right, the virtual sessions, potentially, I think that we certainly see after we had the short-term rentals, we certainly had a lot of discussion about that for a week or so afterwards. It might be a great time to capture some of that stuff. All this stuff, it looks like you guys have taken into consideration. The other thing that if we could get, as soon as you guys think you've got dates for any of this, obviously, if we can tell people, hey, on this day, I mean, I'm going to already start telling people about June 8th, but I'm sure that we'll have better opportunities or more opportunities before that, that we would rather hear from than wait till June 8th.
Yeah, we will definitely get that to you just as soon as possible.
Excellent. And those were my comments. Anyone else?
I'll just echo Mariah's comments and say I appreciate you all inviting us this evening to give this update to you.
Well, definitely, this is, I think, if there's one thing this committee needs to, has had to spend the last 12 months focused and paying attention to, it is this. Policy map's important too, don't get me wrong, but now that we're past it, there is nothing else we need to spend more time on than this. As a city, honestly, even I would say. I mean, all right. Excellent. Any other questions? Last call. I see no hands. All right. One last reminder, later this week, commissioners, we should be getting a notice across the entire commission from Candace that there will probably be a survey format inquiring about specific things you want to see, perhaps the commission addressing about the UDO. Staff will help kind of consolidate, put those together so that if 5 of us say short-term rentals need to not allow 200-person parties, that those all get accumulated, gathered together at least. But we will go through that process and dive deeper into that debate May 2nd. Outside of that, everyone good? All right, I'll accept a motion and we can give everybody back an hour.
Commissioner Kelly, motion to adjourn.
I
know
second
Aaron
and third and fourth that.
I knew that was coming. I believe we have consensus. Does anyone object? Looks like we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.